Okay, welcome everyone. On behalf of the Bob Graham Center, and of course, on behalf of the Gainesville City government, I'd like to welcome everybody. We're very excited to be on this call today, so welcome. I'm excited to welcome you and us talk for the next number of minutes about a very special program that the Bob Graham Center is very fortunate to partner with the City of Gainesville with the City of Gainesville Fellowship. Specifically, we are excited to talk about opportunities for internships being placed next fall and spring. Today, we will kind of go over some basic introductions, talk about some, let's go ahead and do some Zoom housekeeping, which is, if you will, have your volume muted or your microphone muted. If you would like to ask a question, we will be monitoring the chat, and so we can see that in there. We will have some introduction of the program. We'll hear from some students that have been participating in the program, and then we'll have some Q&A. We're going to talk specifically about, we're going to highlight one of the specific placements, but then at the very end of our info session, which won't run more than an hour, we're going to talk about internships broadly. We'll also have some time to cover things like the application process, a Q&A, to talk about the course registration that we can help you with here through the Graham Center. Let me again just start. My name is Kevin Bird. I am an instructor for history classes here and also a coordinator of the Graham Center's experiential learning. I help to coordinate the municipal, state, and federal internships. So I see a number of you that I know from my class, other internships, or just time around campus. So welcome to everyone. Allow me, if I can, to turn it over to Morgan.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Morgan Spicer. I am the Policy Oversight Administrator with the City of Gainesville, which means that I oversee our city's policy research program and our policy process. And as part of that, I supervise the Policy Research Fellows within the City of Gainesville Fellowship. I'm very excited to be with you all today. I was a fellow while I was a student at the University of Florida, so I'm very excited to talk with you all, and I'm glad you all are giving up some of your Friday afternoon to be here.
And again, as I said, we're joined on the call by some students that are in this fellowship or have experience with this fellowship. If there are any of those students that are queued in now, if you would like to go ahead and unmute and kind of introduce yourself and welcome everyone.
Sure, I'll go first. So my name is Lamia Kadrati, and I am a current policy research fellow. So I've been doing this since the fall. I'm a senior and I'm a political science and economics double major. So kind of very much aligned with the policy research program. And yeah, I'm excited to hear your guys' questions, maybe give you more insight as to what this internship is about.
Thank you so much. Let's move forward. Morgan, would you like to start us off here?
Absolutely. So I can start and give just a little bit of general information about the program. So the City of Gainesville Fellowship is a partnership between the Bob Graham Center and the City of Gainesville. And in recent years, we've also added Santa Fe College. So it is really just an institutions of higher education partnership with the city to sort of foster greater collaboration and engagement between all of these great institutions in Gainesville. So this is an academic year program. So this upcoming group of fellows will start probably mid to late August of this upcoming of 2023, and then end around late April of 2024. We have changed things up a little bit from what was on the original website. So we are currently planning to only offer policy research fellowship positions for this upcoming year. There have just been some new developments within the city. So policy research fellows, if that's what you're interested in, we have multiple positions for you, so there will still be multiple positions available. They'll just all be within my office, within the city clerk's office. And I'll talk a little bit more about what the policy research fellows specifically do in a moment. But more general information, our fellows work about 15 hours a week, and they are paid the city's living wage, which is $15 an hour. And then fellows focus on project-based work to help address issues within our city and also help to address our city's strategic goals. And because the city has a variety of strategic goals and a variety of issues, students from all majors are welcome to apply. So there's no limitation. Lamia does have majors that very much traditionally align, but we're certainly interested in any major who has an interest in this, applying it to come and work with us. And then fellows with within the UF program are required to register for course credit. And I think Dr. Bird can talk with you all more about that specific element if you all have questions on that. And then just a couple of benefits or reasons why you might want to apply for the fellowship. So first, it really does help to increase your knowledge of local government and Gainesville generally. You know, the Gainesville City Charter, how our government structure operates, watching city commission meetings, really getting more involved in your community and the government that represents your community. Fellows also contribute to citywide programs and initiatives. So a lot of our fellows, their research does ultimately end up becoming policy or being discussed at the policy level. Lumi is on right now, so I'll reference her. She has done some research on Key to the City, which was discussed by a handful of our commissioners. And then she also did some research on professional backgrounds of city commission candidates that was discussed at a commission meeting. I think Bumnut's going to join in a little bit. They did some work on an equitable development framework that's going to become implemented. So the work that our fellows do really does contribute to, you know, the goals and the programs that we see come out of the city of Gainesville. Our fellows also work with professionals from a variety of different backgrounds. Of course, within the city clerk staff, they'll work with our city commissioners, but also we've got a lot of really talented people that work for the city of Gainesville in our communications department and our planning department, our engineers. We've really got a really great variety of professional backgrounds and experiences within the city. And so tapping into that network can be really beneficial. And then of course, connecting with other fellows and those city departments. Our policy research fellows work together frequently on projects, and we also do field trips for the fellows where they can visit other city facilities or city departments and learn more about the work that's being done there. And so it's a good opportunity to kind of connect with each other and also, again, the city at large. And then, of course, growing as a young professional, gaining experience for your resume, and growing in whatever skills it is that you're trying to develop.
Morgan, may I add a piece there?
Absolutely.
One of the things that we're so excited on the Graham Center side of things about this internship is it gives you a chance potentially to have a sustained amount of time, longer than normal, with a department to get into the work, grow to do good work, receive constructive feedback, and really have deeper relationships. You know, oftentimes people think of internships in the summer, which can often be just 10 weeks. And for half of that time, you're kind of learning, getting used to that context. So this internship a fellowship has the possibility of not only the fall, but the spring, 2 terms that are longer than the summer. So you really have a more sustained interaction with the department, a chance to really grow professionally in ways that a single summer internship just doesn't have the time or the scope to develop. Along with that, I will follow along with you through some basic things, you know, some prompts to try to kind of walk with you through parts of the experience. And, you know, you're always able to reach out to me. This is very different than a summer internship where you kind of show up, you're kind of on your own. You're kind of maybe at times feeling, I need guidance. You've got partners at the city level and in the Graham Center to walk with you through a more sustained professional development that really can result in you at the end of the experience having gained some very compelling professional development skills. Would you say that's your experience, Morgan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And then just to talk a little bit more specifically about the policy research position. So as mentioned, it is under the Office of the City Clerk. So the City of Gainesville has a variety of charter officers. One of them is the City Clerk, who's the charter office that I am under. And so the policy research fellows work as part of the policy research team. And the goal of that team is to help our city commissioners transform their ideas into public policy through precise and objective research. So as you all may or may not know, a lot of our city commissioners come into this position not having a great deal of policy experience. And so our office really helps them to better understand the policy, the goals that they're trying to achieve, the policies that they want to implement, and provide them some objective preliminary research into those topics at hand. So each of our policy research fellows have the opportunity to work with city commissioners to help them conduct research on whatever their policy priorities are. So that consists of a couple of different things. First is formulating policy ideas in the first place. Sometimes commissioners come to us with very specific things that they already know they're interested in. Sometimes they come with very broad ideas and they're not sure exactly what that might look like in practice. And so helping them sort of narrow that down is one of the tasks of our office. Conducting stakeholder interviews, that might be with community members who have feelings or input or background on the topic at hand. It also might be city staff who have relevant job experience that's necessary for our research. And then conducting research on those topics. So looking at other municipalities that have implemented similar programs, what that looked like for them, what their best practices are. And then compiling all of that into a research report that we then share with our city commissioners and senior level city staff. And then if the commissioners who requested the research are still interested in having the discussion on the topic, then our fellows are given the opportunity to present that research to the city commission. And then our fellows also can assist commissioners with resolution drafting, as that's frequently something that our commissioners like assistance with. So that's sort of generally what the policy research fellows do. But of course, we're here to answer questions if you have more specific ones.
And Morgan, you mentioned this, but just to touch back to this, you said these opportunities for policy research, these are open to students with from what majors and so forth? Could we just
any majors? I think we look for students who have strong writing ability, since that's obviously a very large part of this role. But we have a wide variety of majors within our current cohort, and yes, any major is welcome to apply.
Wonderful. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and allow, at the very least, two of our current fellows in the program. We're very honored and excited to have two of our current fellows in the program. And if you will, could you maybe introduce yourself, your major, your interest in doing this, maybe generally public service, and describe kind of what it's like now. And that could be, specifically about policy research, or just generally what you're learning from kind of the Gainesville Fellows research. Lamia, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned this earlier, but hi, if you didn't hear, my name is Lamia Kadrati. I am a fourth year political science and economics double major. So like Morgan said, this is open to all majors, but I will say that writing and having taken courses in writing and doing 8 to 20 page essays did very much help me in this position, because it is very writing intensive, especially if you are doing policy research and drafting up reports. So that is something to keep in mind if you are considering this. But to touch on Dr. Bird's questions of why I wanted to do this fellowship in the first place, I had gotten the opportunity to work on state and federal levels for governments before this, and I had never really done work on a local level. And I thought there was no better city to get involved in than the one I had been living in for the past 3 years. So for me, that was kind of my passion and spark for it. And then just coupling that with having an interest in politics and government and wanting to eventually work in a government office of some kind, whether that would be, here in Florida or somewhere else, I figured that this would really just prepare me for anything that I could potentially, step into in my future after graduating. And I will say has exposed me to a whole new area of government and writing and policy and research and everything that it would promise to do in the title. So I am really appreciative of that. And also working under Morgan, who is very much informed and a really good mentor with all of this, has been very helpful. So if you are a little bit hesitant about feeling like you're not prepared enough or think that, you know, it might be too much to take on, I would say that's not something you should worry about, because it is a very much step-by-step process when you start this. You're not kind of thrown into the deep end, you are guided through. And it's just a great learning opportunity above all else. I've learned so much more about writing, what goes into policy research, even formatting for, you know, reports, little things like that that really do count when you go out into the real world. So yeah, that's sort of my kind of outlook on everything. I don't know if there was any other question that I missed.
Could you, you covered it. Could you also just return back to that topic, and then we'll go to Baymet. Could you also return to that topic of just what it looks like for a week, about how much you're working in this? Did you find that you were able to kind of carry a full-time, course load well, or how'd that work for you?
Yeah, so it definitely depends on what you're working on, I would say. Some weeks it was a lot more intensive than others. It just depends on the topic. So I've had about 4 projects that I've worked on from my start with this program. And I would say that each one spanned about 4 weeks per project. I don't know if that math is really adding up to how long I've been in this position. But you do get a lot of time for each project. It's not something that, you know, like a class assignment, you're assigned and you're expected to turn it in the next class. It's a lot more structured in that sense. So I was also fortunate in that I only have 3 classes this year because I am a graduating senior, or this semester. So it's been a lot more manageable in that sense. But I definitely think balancing the 15 hours and your course load is possible. It's just a matter of how you kind of pocket in that time, because a majority of it is your schedule that you're creating. So you're not really working to a set 9 to 5. You're working whenever you decide that you are. Of course, you just have to meet the deadline that's assigned, or if something is expected by a certain time, you just deliver that. But everything is very much on you to kind of time manage.
Thank you. Baymet, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and maybe speak to some of the questions we had discussed? And then we might even have a bit of time if anybody has specific questions for the two of you before we advance.
My turn? Okay, sorry, I'm in the car right now. Can everyone hear me? Okay, it like cut out a little bit. Hi, my name is Buminat. I'm a 4th year advertising major, urban planning minor. I'm a policy research fellow with City of Gainesville. So I will say, before this fellowship, I didn't have any government experience. I either had like on-campus leadership experience, or I had experience with nonprofits. But I really wanted to break into the government sphere because I see myself like working in a government setting when I graduate. This experience has definitely been very rewarding, learning about policy and how policy shapes communities, and how policy can impact one person or impact many people. I also think the biggest thing that I've gotten out of this is communication. So I've been able to communicate with city officials, people in like the planning department, people in the city clerk's office, with the commissioner that I'm paired with. Definitely meeting with my city commissioner alone. I was really nervous. I was like, oh God, I'm gonna mess up. But this fellowship really prepared me for that. And yeah, did I answer everything?
Baymet, for you, did you find that kind of, you know, this for everyone, this internship is a part-time internship meant for you
Yes.
to be enrolled in
Yes.
full-time classes, did you find the balance of the work and your classes? Anything that you'd like to speak to that, how that that was possible for you to be enrolled in your regular classes and so forth?
Yeah. So I would say it wasn't super difficult at all. I found that I could manage the 15 hours and my classes and my involvements and my social life as well. One of the biggest things that I gained from this experience was how to manage time, because I'm not the best at managing time, but having an intern on top of everything really allowed me to prioritize and date. And yeah, I'd say it wasn't that difficult at all.
Yeah. Thank you both. We have a bit of a few minutes before our other two interns join us, and we can skip forward and talk about some basics like registration. But is there any question that any of you would like to put forward to the interns or myself and Morgan at this kind of halfway point? If you would like to, raise your hand, just let us know, and or you could type it in the text. Actually, type a question in the chat would be very helpful.
I had a quick question regarding the projects that you're doing. Do you tend to see that they're more individual, or do you collaborate with a lot of the fellows that you work with?
I can take this question. It's definitely both. I remember my first project, I was working by myself, and it was kind of intimidating, but I got the hang of. And now it's more like collaborative in nature. And I'm working with another fellow, so it's definitely a mix of both.
Yeah, just to add on to that really quick, you'll find that a lot of these projects can't really be done collaboratively, in the sense that it really is just kind of like you have to sit there and call people and type it out. So it really doesn't need collaboration in that sense. And yeah, and for me personally, all of my projects have been done independently, except the next one that I will be starting. And that's going to be my last project for this internship. So
Thank you.
Again, we're just kind of taking a bit of a halfway break to just entertain a few questions, and we'll go forward and we'll catch all these in the Q&A. Raul, did you want to add something?
Yeah, you guys are talking about projects, and obviously this has to do with policy, but could you guys please give me some examples of projects that were memorable, or things that just a general idea of what it was that you guys were working on overall? Because I'm a little bit curious.
yeah, so Morgan, are we allowed to like give summaries on what we, okay.
Yep.
So my most recent one that I just finished up was probably my most interesting one that I worked on, and it was regarding road safety. So something that Commissioner Ed Book wanted to see, research on, was when we do pedestrian focused road infrastructure. So when we expand sidewalks, or when we, make bike lanes in roads, how does that affect the traffic safety, and whether or not these conditions that are meant to make walking more safe, does that make your driving conditions more unsafe? So that was something that I had to research, and how that looked was basically, we go to other cities a lot of times around around Florida or around the country, just to kind of get case studies almost. So that was me just looking at all of different cities and Department of Transportation reports and things like that. It was definitely the most time intensive and labor intensive report that I had done, but the most rewarding, because it was really cool to learn about, aspects that you wouldn't even think about. Like, yeah, when we do make a bike lane, does that make traffic conditions worse, and does, traffic safety worse? So that was one example.
Maybe we'll go ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
please.
Oh, no, you go. Sorry. Oh,
No,
okay.
please.
Okay. I think for me, my most memorable project, because of the topic and the amount of time I worked on this for almost an entire semester, was my first report. So Commissioner Duncan Walker had a research request for me to look into an equitable development framework. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a framework to measure policies and programs that promote quality of life, racial equity, gender equity, just equity in all aspects, with employment, transportation, housing, parks and recreation, and things like that. And it was really illuminating seeing how other cities tackle equity challenges, and how the city of Gainesville has tackled equity in the past and in the present, and doing research on this, how the city has been like not equitable in the past. This is definitely interesting. And we presented that, and it's moved on to the next phase of policy creation. So it'll eventually be like a policy city of Gainesville. So
Thank you both. We'll move forward now, if it's okay, and we'll keep taking questions right at the end. We'll have another Q&A time. Just wanted to take a bit of a break at the halfway point and invite any participation. I want to go over a few more details. So, as you know, you've got an online application to this, and please know that if you can, let's say, if something happens and you accidentally submit your application and there was some part of it that wasn't done, you can resubmit an application. I'll be able to see the duplicates there. It is due Friday, March 25th. Actually, I'm sorry. It is actually, we extended that to April 14th. So I didn't catch that mistake. So we actually extended to April 14th, a Friday at 11:59. We will begin interviews right there in April. The late April time period. Basically, the goal is to have some interviewing time, right towards the end of the semester. Again, generally, during the summer, in the May time period, the idea is to try to have placements. We would like to register you. This does involve credit through the Graham Center. And that can involve, a small amount of credit. So we can actually do 0 credit. 1 credit is kind of the most common, but we can kind of go up to a little bit more credit if this is meeting some curriculum goal for you. We do want to register you for at least a small amount of credit, 0 or 1 credit, so that it is on your transcript and that we can enroll you in our Canvas course. And you will do weekly or bi-weekly journal reflections in there. I use those for a couple of reasons, just to follow along with the student's experience, but also I can refer back to those. If you ever ask me for a letter of reference, I can refer back to that to help jog my memory, in addition to you, of course, helping that, to kind of be able to speak to some of the specific things that you've done. So it's kind of like just a bank of information that can be referred back to. Again, we would register a student and really no later than summer B. We don't, while we can still register as the semester is impending, we like to register you a little bit earlier. These internships, this fellowship kind of starts when you're typical, in August, as school is starting. It runs kind of the normal length of a semester. And then the great thing about this fellowship is that potentially it has that great opportunity to be in the spring semester also. Morgan, anything that I've spoken to that you'd like to add, correct, or emphasize in any way?
I don't think so. I think you got it.
Okay, great. Listening to my description of this, Lamia or Bennett, would you say anything else about kind of just the process for the people listening? Maybe, helping them with, or speaking to any other part of it, like the course registration or the online Canvas component?
Not too much more to add. I will say, so in my case, I wasn't allowed to take any more political science credits. So I had to register as 0 credits. So if that's something you are concerned about, that is an option too. Like if you're out of internship credits.
Not much either, but I will say writing the reflections really helped me put like my thoughts about why this internship's like impacted me onto paper, and it's helped me like see my progress throughout the year. So it's definitely beneficial.
Thank you both. Yeah, I encourage you, as you think of this internship, other internships, to keep a personal journal of things that you can refer back to, that you can reflect back to, and that quite honestly, also, when you're interviewing down the road, you can refer back to in the interview. You're going to be asked some standard questions, and having some of that information that you can refer back to is helpful. Raul, I saw that you raised your hand. Is it okay if we catch you in the Q&A time? Oh, that's okay. All right. And I think we've been joined by another one of our fellows is now on the call. Am I right that Aubrey, you've joined us? And could you maybe introduce yourself, talk, of course, about what you've done, but also just maybe what you've learned as Aubrey, this call we're honing in on policy research. But Aubrey, could you introduce yourself?
For sure. Can you guys hear me? So yeah, my name is Aubrey, and I am I was the media marketing intern for Gainesville Fire Rescue. But I know you said that it's mostly policy research, but I think one thing that I learned, and I'm sure other people learned as well, is, there were skills that I had that I didn't know could be applied in this specific place, because I am a graphic design and journalism student, and I had no idea that my skills could be used out of the fire department. And I'm sure that could be, found for anybody studying whatever you're studying. You never know where the skills you have can be useful. So that was just something that I learned.
Absolutely. Aubrey, would you like to speak to the fact that this is maybe a part-time internship that stretches over 2 semesters? What's the significance of that to you?
It definitely gives you a longer amount of time to build connections with people and really build skills as well, because being in a place for 2 semesters, you just have the time to dedicate to all of the different projects, all the things that you want to improve on. You have the time to do that, which is something that I've really appreciated.
Yeah, for Aubrey, for the others too, they've built up a length of a relationship with those offices, with those supervisors, that when, let's say, they might request a letter of reference or build on that experience, they really have kind of established themselves as over a long period of time in a way that is not the same per se in just your typical maybe 10-week summer internship. So their offices are quite fond of them and willing to speak on their behalf and laud their praises. Well, we have covered the material that we had in mind, and I'd like to go to the Q&A time, and I want to invite Morgan, if you'd like to speak to some of these, and
Yes.
then Morgan, as you find it relevant to call on our current fellows, please feel free as you find it relevant to do. Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah, absolutely. So Amy asked if for the research and compiling reports, will we be working remotely? Sort of. So fellows have at least for my office, have a scheduled set of office hours where they will come into City Hall in person and do that work. That's typically about 5 hours a week for everyone. And then the remaining portion of your time, we do allow you all to work remotely and set your own schedules. Because as has been alluded to, we do know that you all are students and have other things going on. Dr. Britt, it might be best if you speak to Isabella's question, but I can go on to the other ones. She's asking if marketing and media positions, if there's other ways to get involved in that work through the Graham Center.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please send me an email. That's actually an area, just so that you know, we have student assistants at the Graham Center. In recent years, one of our student assistants that did work in that space for the Graham Center went on and did work at our state level and then federal level internships. And while we selected him for a federal internship, he also applied and won a White House internship working in that space. So yes, please do reach out to us by email. Thank you, Morgan. You want to take the next one?
Yeah, and then Samantha asked about favorite research project. I think Lamia and Bumnut answered that in the earlier question. Paulina asked if there was a project they were able to present to commissioners. So Lamia and Bumnut have not presented, but their work has been heard at the City Commission. So as I mentioned earlier, Lamia's work on Key to the City and then the professional backgrounds have both been discussed by the Commission, and Bumnut's work on an equitable development framework was presented. They had class at that time, so they did not do the presentation, but their work was presented. But other fellows have presented. So our fellow Austin presented on community-based organization funding process. Our fellow Catherine presented on notification requirements for rent increases and terminations of tenancies without a specific duration. Our fellow Kaylin has done several presentations because she's been with us for 2 years. She's done presentations on cultural arts centers and regional transportation authorities. And then our fellow Kayla has a couple of presentations that are going to be heard at the commission over the summer on wayfinding design standards and journeyman licensing programs. And then our fellow Mikhail, his research on Greenway and Urban Trail Master Plan is going to be heard over the summer. So far, everyone has at least had their research discussed by the commission at some level from this group. And then I think the last question is, are you assigned projects or do you get to choose? It sort of depends. So our priority is to fulfill the requests of the commissioners. And so if there are time sensitive requests, or if there's only one request, then there's not really much room for choosing. And we have to do what is requested of us by the commission. But certainly if there are multiple options available that are of similar time sensitivities, then we do open that up for our fellows to be able to choose that. But it sort of just depends. We'd love for everyone to always be able to choose, but sometimes we're just working within some constraints that prevent that. But I think that was all of the questions that were in the chat.
Great. From any of the fellows, anything that you'd like to add about, a specific project that you've worked on? And then if somebody has something to say there, well, I think also Raul has a question or something. Fellows?
I saw on the important info page that the application would be due on March 25th, Friday. Today is Friday and it's March 24th, and tomorrow is March 25th. So it's due tomorrow.
So thank you for catching that. So we actually extended that out into April. So okay. April 14th. Thank you for catching. Thank you, Rob. Any of the other fellows that you would like to maybe speak to a project, or we've kind of mentioned a few of them already. Anything else that you like to kind of weigh in on kind of a project generally? Great. I want to just thank Morgan. I want to thank our fellows on the call. And I just want to spend a few moments just talking about internships generally. Just for all of you, as we said, for this Gainesville Fellows program, we're concentrating, we've kind of gotten some updates back from the city of Gainesville that we're going to be concentrating on policy research. But I want to talk to you just about internships generally now, just for a few moments, and the benefit of them. One thing that I love about helping to prepare students and supporting students to internships, from my time when I was over in computer science as an advisor and department level coordinator, what I found is that students after an internship would often write more professional emails when corresponding, would come in on time for their appointments, would display habits that were helpful in them finding not just jobs, but maybe the specific interest of jobs. Their kind of level of professionalism just naturally, because it had a context to grow in, it just naturally kind of went to the next stage. And so this process of learning by doing at the Graham Center, whether we have a specific fellowship or a spot for you, we're very supportive of you generally in finding internships. I often help students interview for internships that they find on their own. I often have had students that I wasn't able to maybe offer a specific spot to, that found something, came in, we still talked about it, talked about their resume, talked about the interview process, and they landed the spot. I love when that happens. So I just want to encourage you about thinking about internships and thinking about them as a body of work. You know, Lamia kind of told you a story about her undergraduate education where she's like, at this stage, kind of at the end of the kind of culmination, I'm doing this type of work, and I see it being related to what comes next in this way. And so I'm excited about this internship, but I'm excited about internships generally being something that you think about like a body of work that you're putting together. You're learning from each experience, you're building on it. It doesn't mean that you're going to be doing exactly that for the rest of your life. But what it does mean is you're learning from that experience, and it gives you insight. Maybe the insight it gives you is that you want to do this in a specific type of city or at a specific level, municipal, state, or federal level. But you've got that opportunity to try something out, learn from it, and then move forward. Well, I just want to encourage you to, as you're thinking about internships generally, does anybody have an additional question about the Gainesville Fellows Program or internships generally that you would like to ask? If you do, you're very welcome to stay on the call. For those of you that don't, we have kind of reached the culmination of what we wanted to talk about, but I'll stay on the call for a little bit with anybody if you would like to. Thank you, fellows. You're very welcome to stay or to go on with your weekend. Either way.
Hi, Kevin. I have a couple of questions regarding those
Sure.
internships that you brought up. So that I know that you guys are doing the City of Gainesville Fellowship, but obviously, do you know of any other organizations or things similar, whether it be in policy research or as Aubrey spoke about Gator Fire, anything? I'm pretty interested. Would you be willing to email me any resources regarding that?
Yeah, Ro, I would say if you email me, actually, I'll respond, and you can schedule an appointment with my email tag. And so, a lot of times there's a lot of institutions out there that have the possibility of internships, but maybe it's not quite as streamlined as what we're doing here with the fellowship. You have to kind of track it down. So probably in a discussion, what we would talk about is just kind of what are some of the things that interest you, and then maybe we can try to develop a few steps to follow up on with the type of place. Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Morgan, is there anything that you would say that you would advise to students as they're saying, hey, well, yeah, you've got the Gainesville Fellows Program, but I kind of saw myself this semester or in the summer back in Tampa. Any advice that you'd give people generally about how to even think about this?
Yeah, so I can speak specifically to the city of Gainesville. So there are other internships available within the city of Gainesville. Some are paid, some are not. The paid positions, you'll be able to find them on our Workday site. So I think finding a city's job site and just checking that regularly. I know that like our IT department has interns somewhat regularly. Our water, wastewater within GRU has internships somewhat regularly. And then there's also, like Parks and Rec has unpaid internship opportunities. I also think it won't always be successful, but it certainly doesn't hurt to reach out to, or like if there are departments or organizations or specific groups that you're interested in interning with, asking if they have opportunities, and then seeing what they will tell you. I often have students email me when we don't have applications currently open. And so I am then able to refer them to those other, either when our applications will eventually open or to other opportunities within the city. So it's not always going to be successful if you just email them. They may not have opportunities, but it doesn't hurt to ask. But yeah, I would say, like for municipalities specifically, looking at their job boards, they typically will post internship opportunities there. And also just like searching their website for interns will often yield successful results if there are internship positions on their website.
Morgan, very valuable. Thank you so much for that. Anybody else, as we're on the call, like to ask a question? Maybe we've got room for a question or two more.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
cool. So sorry, I ended up joining the Zoom call late. But I noticed that you were talking about policy. I happen to be minoring in accounting, and I saw on the site that there were accounting backgrounds mentioned. Is there anything that's opening this upcoming cycle that would be kind of related to that? I'm also like majoring in poli-sci, so just general policy I'm interested in, but wanted to see what the opportunities would be moving forward.
Yeah, so and Dr. Bird, you're welcome to add on when I'm dead. So there have been some changes within the city. And so we do think at this time, the only positions that are going to be available from the specific City of Gainesville Fellowship are the policy research fellows. I would say an accounting background does not preclude you from that. I do understand that might not be your specific area of interest. I would certainly encourage you to apply if you have interest in policy. So the specific accounting position will not be offered, but I think similar to the advice that was just given, it doesn't hurt to reach out to other people and see about other opportunities, but it will not, we don't think that it will be an established position within this upcoming year.
Fantastic. Two other questions I just thought of. So one is for the fellows who have been doing it for 2 years, was there anything that they feel like they would have gained that's maybe a little bit stronger or something they noticed compared to fellows that may have only been doing it for 1 year? And then I got to think of the question I thought of before that, but that's the first one.
Yeah, so Kaylin is not on the call. She is our repeat fellow. Or Aubrey has, I don't know if Aubrey's still on. She may have hopped off.
She's not.
She did 2 different positions for it 2 years in a row. Kaylin did the same position 2 years in a row. I think it's really just gaining familiarity with the work. You become more comfortable. You become more comfortable in your writing abilities. You gain stronger connections with the people that you're working with. I was not a fellow for 2 years, but I was a fellow. And then I started working for the city part-time after my fellowship. And then I ultimately got this full-time role, which is overseeing the fellows. So I do have sort of the continuity of City of Gainesville work. And I would say the same things. It's just kind of building an established network, showing that you have like on your resume, showing that you are like committed to a specific organization and that you're able to stay and grow within that organization. So yeah, I think it's really just, and I mean, yeah, I think as Dr. Bird alluded to, shorter internships often feel like the second that you get comfortable with it, you're immediately done. And so I think that it's just expanding upon those benefits of being able to sort of grow in the work and become more comfortable with the work.
Fantastic. I thought of the second question. So you kind of mentioned this, or you may just be specifically talking about the role of fellowship. But is there any sort of background that you feel like the current fellows all kind of have similarly, maybe not a particular organization, but a particular type of organization that has kind of better prepared fellows for being more successful in that role? I know you said something about like being in an organization for a long time. I don't know if that's specifically fellows or something that you would notice in a typical fellows resume.
Yeah, so that's more or less student interns and more like as you graduate and as your resume becomes, less school oriented and more career oriented. I think the main things that so our fellows do come from a variety of backgrounds. I would say the qualities that typically lend themselves to the most successful fellows are writing capabilities, coming in with a strong writing background. You will, I think, grow as a writer in this position, but not, starting with a strong base. And kind of caring about Gainesville and policies that can make our city better. I think being, having that curiosity and wanting to do the work and do the work well, I think lends itself to a better quality work. So I don't think that it's necessarily coming from a specific organization or having a certain major. I think it's more the writing is important, but maybe even more so than that is kind of caring about Gainesville generally, caring about government generally, caring about how government can improve lives for its residents, and things of that nature.
Fantastic.
Thank you both. We're drawing to a close here, and we don't want to kind of hold people over long, but can I just check in with you, Eliza and Lexi? Eliza, what was your question?
I just had a quick question regarding like within the research that you're doing, are you doing it mainly like surveys? Like, are you ever working with the IRB, or is it mainly hands-off research like online?
Good question. Very much the latter. Qualitative compilation of existing resources.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great question. I hadn't thought that we hadn't, that's a great thing. Alexi?
I was curious, I noticed a lot of the current fellows tend to be upperclassmen. Did that affect applications at all? Do you often get any like incoming sophomores?
So yes, Labia and Bumnut were both upperclassmen. We currently have 3 juniors in this current cohort, and we have 2 incoming sophomores in our summer group, which is a less formal internship. It's sort of just an informal internship program that we have. So we have certainly brought on, I would say upperclassmen tends to be more common because it does tend to be a very competitive internship. However, we've got 2 of our summer interns who are incoming sophomores. So it certainly is not exclusively upperclassmen.
I would like to just say a special hello to Paulina, who's on the call. One of our very accomplished interns on several capacities. Hello, Paulina. It's good to see you on the call. So now we're kind of reaching the conclusion of our time. I just want to thank you, Morgan. Say a special thanks in this recorded fashion for our interns, and wish you all a very great weekend. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I welcome to hear from you, and my very best to you this weekend.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.